Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another vacation planning discussion. So on and off recently here on the channel we've been talking about some important little details when it comes to planning your Walt Disney World vacation. We talk about things that, kind of get overlooked in Disney vacation planning discussions. Often people focus on certain things, they breeze over others. But I want to focus on some of the things that are really, they're stuck in your head, the things that you want to know the answer to, maybe sometimes because people aren't talking about it, maybe sometimes because people are giving certain little tidbits of information and you're like, is that actually true? Today we're covering one of those topics. We're going to be talking about bus transportation, specifically from resorts that have only bus transportation. Although this could apply to any of the Walt Disney World resorts that do have a bus, which is all of them. So look, I get a question all the time about bus transportation and if you can use bus transportation to get to the theme parks in time for early theme park entry. You guys, this has got to be the top question that's eating away at some of you, especially those of you who are looking to save some money, because so many people talk about alternatives that are going to cost you extra, things like taking a rideshare, renting a car. So because we're always focusing so much on saving money and doing this in a budget-friendly way so that you guys can save money where you can, I really wanted to dig into this because I do think there's some information out there that's a little overcomplicated and it leans into spending more money when it's just not necessary. Before we get into that though, let's just make sure that we're on the same page. So here at the Walt Disney World Resort, if you're staying at a Walt Disney World Resort hotel, you're gonna have access to free transportation to the theme parks and to other parts of the Walt Disney World Resort. This can be in the form of boats, buses, Skyliner, monorail. We've talked about this in the past, but the long and short of it is that you'll have access to transportation to get you around once you get here, because Disney unfortunately no longer offers that free transportation option to the resort, so you have to figure out how to get there. There are a lot of options for that. If you want us to talk more about it, let us know in a comment down below. But once you get here, you don't have to worry about getting yourself to anywhere on Walt Disney World property. You don't need to use an Uber or a Lyft. You don't need to rent a car. Like any other major city, there's a transportation option that's available to you, again, for free, which I suppose isn't like any other major city in that way, because usually you have to pay for it, but you get it if you're here at the Walt Disney World Resort, whether you're staying on property or not. But if you are staying on property, you have access to that transportation from your Walt Disney World Resort hotel, which is super convenient. Now, there are a lot of different people out there who have different preferences when it comes to the transportation options at the Walt Disney World Resort. There are some people who like to stay in certain places because it has access to the Skyliner. Other people like to stay at resorts that are walking distance to some of the theme parks. These are all great things to take into consideration, especially if you have a flexible budget. But if you don't, and you don't have the option of staying at a deluxe resort, maybe you find yourself in an all-star or a value resort, I should say, or if you're one of those people who was hoping to stay in one place, you can't stay there, so you have to go for another option, and that option isn't going to have the transportation you were hoping for, the question everyone wants to know the answer to is, will Disney's transportation get me where I want to go when I want to be there? And the short answer to this is absolutely. All modes of transportation at the Walt Disney World Resort will get you where you want to be for when you want to be there, assuming that you leave with enough time to get where you're going. Disney magic, we all feel it when we're here at the Walt Disney World Resort, but it can only do so much. So you can't show up 15 minutes before your dining reservation to the bus stop and hope that you're going to get where you want to go in 15 minutes. It just doesn't work like that. And it wouldn't work like that for any other mode of transportation either. But with adequate planning and with arriving early, which is something that we talk about all the time, you most definitely can get where you want to be using the free transportation options at the Walt Disney World Resort, even with the buses. Now, I wanted to focus so much attention on the buses specifically today because this is the area that everyone always wants to know about. Like I said, I get questions about this all the time. And you guys know that we recently stayed over at Saratoga Springs Resort, and while I was there, I spent some time looking at the bus schedule every single morning and paying attention to when the bus arrived. And I screenshotted the app so that you can see what I'm talking about and get an idea of what is going on with the bus situation. So first and foremost, Disney Saratoga Springs Resort is one of those resorts that only has bus transportation, at least if you're trying to go to the theme parks. And there are multiple bus stops at Disney Saratoga Springs Resort. This is very similar to what you'll experience at other resorts. Old Key West is another great example of this. So it's known for being a resort that takes a little bit of time when it comes to bus transportation, which isn't going to be convenient for everybody, but it's still gonna work. And I'm not just talking about getting to the theme parks, it's gonna work to get you to the theme parks in time for early theme park entry, which is what so many people are concerned about. So let's take a look at the app here. Now, you'll notice that I am looking at the My Disney Experience app. In the app, when you have a resort stay, you will be able to see a bus schedule for your resort. You'll also be able to, in the case of Saratoga Springs, toggle between the different bus stops throughout the resort. And that will tell you what time the next bus is estimated to arrive and when it's estimated to arrive at the theme park. Now, keep in mind, bus transportation at resorts here at the Walt Disney World Resort do use some specialized lanes in some cases. They have their own lanes, they have their own entrances to the theme parks, but they're also driving on public roads, just like you guys. So there is going to be some traffic, and that means that this isn't going to be perfect down to the second, okay? Sometimes buses run a little bit late. You gotta accommodate for that with the way that you arrive to the bus stop. This is no different than it would be if you were anywhere else in the world. If you were back home getting ready to go to dinner and you had a dinner reservation, you had an appointment, you still have to leave early, you have to arrive at the bus stop early. But let's take a second to look at the times that the bus was scheduled to arrive on this particular day. Let's start off by looking at Animal Kingdom. This is the park that's going to open the earliest. And according to the app, as you can see, the park opens at 8 a.m. Now, that's the time that the park opens to day guests. But if you're staying at a Walt Disney World Resort hotel, you can take advantage of early theme park entry and get into the park at 7:30 a.m. So what we need to do is figure out if we can get a bus that's going to get us to Animal Kingdom in time to get in line so that we can be in for 7:30. Now, I took this screenshot at 6:08 a.m. and if we look at the next bus arrival time, it is at 6:24. That's going to be at the carousel station of this particular resort. Of course, as you can see, you can toggle back and forth to the different stations, and it says estimated arrival at park 6:44 a.m. So that is going to be plenty of time to get through security and get in line so that you can get in the park in time for early theme park entry. But let's look at the other parks. Now, the other parks open at 9 a.m. and that means that the early theme park entry will be at 8:30. So if we look at Magic Kingdom, the next bus, this was at 6:59. When I took this screenshot, the next bus was estimated to arrive at 7:04 and it was estimated to arrive at the park at 7:24. Again, plenty of time, in fact, to arrive an hour prior to early theme park entry. Same is true for Epcot, and it looks like pretty much the same is true for Disney's Hollywood Studios. Of course, the next bus is scheduled to arrive in this case at 7:15 and estimated arrival at the park at 7:35. So as you can see, you can easily get on that bus and get to the park with plenty of time to get there for early theme park entry, even from a resort like Disney Saratoga Springs. Now, on this particular day, I did keep an eye out for these buses, and they were arriving on time, and that means that they likely got to the theme parks within a 5-10 minute window of when they were estimated to. Of course, there are always things that can slow buses down a little bit, traffic, loading and unloading, all of that stuff, so keep that in mind. But for the most part, this is doable. This is totally doable for anyone who is staying at a resort, even if you only have bus transportation. I know there are so many naysayers out there, so many people saying that, no, this isn't doable, you can't do this. I think we gotta be careful with that. I think we have to be careful with saying that something isn't doable, something isn't possible. Just because it's not something that you and your family can manage doesn't necessarily mean that it's not doable. So let's try and be a little bit more clear about that, especially for those of you out there who might not have the budget for the Lyft, the Uber, the rental car. I know there are plenty of people out there who, you stay at a place like the All-Stars or at Saratoga Springs or wherever you stay that has bus transportation, and it can be a little intimidating to hear people say that you can't make it to the parks for early theme park entry using Disney bus transportation, when what they really mean is they can't make it work for their family. There are a lot of times when the line gets blurred there, and while it's totally fine if something doesn't work for you and your family, it might be the only option for others. So I think that we need to be more clear about communicating what is possible and how to make that possible versus just saying, can't happen, so you need to do this, that, and the other. That's one of the things we try and focus on here, because I feel like so many people, they gloss over that. They go, no, I just can't make it work. I don't want to make it work. But that doesn't mean that it can't. Anyway, I hope that this answered the question that so many of you have asked me time and time again, and I hope that this eases some of the concern for some of you who might not be sure if bus transportation is going to work for you. It can. It's all about planning and timing and using the resources that are available to you through the My Disney Experience app. But anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts, so share them in a comment down below. But for now, I'm off. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.